Greetings, scholars. How y'all doing? This is Mr. Williams. Just checking in with you guys about the If It Didn't project. First thing, if it didn't, is a processing activity. It's pretty straightforward. It's a way for you to just kind of practice what you learned and put it out in a different format. I want this to be something just kind of, don't quote me on this, but fun. I mean, I want you guys to be able to go outside, have a sheet of paper, and just kind of make a poster like we used to. I mean, not a big old one, just not a big hunker, just like a normal sheet of paper. Um, I like this activity. It kind of pairs with another one we'll do soon, and it's just a way, especially this one, we want to distinguish two different things. So in this, if it didn't, we're really going to take one of our two issues. We're going to divide them in the class based on your birth month. I was born in February. That's an even month. It's the second month. So I would be doing the Non-Intercourse Act. Always a fun one to talk about in middle school. But anyways, I would do that. If you're born in January, the first month, or March, the third month, or November, the 11th month, September, the ninth month, all those months, July, July, the seventh month, you would be doing the Embargo Act. So based on your birth month, you're going to be doing a different topic. And this is the key. Everyone should be doing both columns on your T chart. So again, the T chart is also very helpful. You get yourself a T on one side, you've got the Embargo Act on the other side, you've got the Non-Intercourse Act. Every kid, every student is going to do both sides, so we really know our facts, but we're going to focus on one for the If It Didn't project. And again, it's just a way to state true factual details and get it completely associated with that one topic. Ladies and gentlemen, on the board in front of you is a kindergarten style one based on an animal project. So just big bold title, If It Didn't. And then we've got 5 true facts. Well, okay, at least we've got 5 areas for true facts. The best ones are going to be a little bit more compound and complex than this. I'll show you that in a minute. But here it is. We have true facts about, in this case, an octopus. So if it has 8 arms, that's an octopus.
Wait, Mr. Williams, what about spiders? They have 8 arms, and technically octopi have legs, so this could be.
Well, hold on there, buddy. What about this? If it didn't have blue blood, did you know octopi have blue blood? I didn't know that. Now I do. If it didn't have tentacles, if it didn't squirt black ink to protect itself, if it didn't have a really strong beak to break little sea animals into tasty morsels, so there's my 5 true facts, well, then it wouldn't be an octopus. So we have our kind of punch down to the bottom. This is telling me this is what we're talking about. And so right here, this is where you guys would either put in Embargo Act of 1807 or Non-Intercourse Act of 1809. Either one. Now, let's see. What can we do here? So this is something I do with students. We usually break up partners and do that. But the big deal is we have 5 bullet point areas to get in at least 6 good facts. Because look at your T chart over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 major topics to talk about anyways. So we're going to squeeze those. How do I get 6 into 5? Well, the first thing that you would have known from going over this activity or this assignment is these first 3 questions are pretty simple. These are kind of cut and dry answers. It's these bottom 3 where you get into a little bit more of an area where you want to provide more details and give a little bit more context. And so we can easily take things up here. I can take these 2 and cram them into one bullet point. That's pretty easy. So that's the way to do that one. So again, this is kind of the Ghetto Fabulous version of the same chart you're looking at over here, just squished onto a slide. So we're going to use that information that we get about each one to form our If It Didn't poster. Okay, now here's just some extra things to talk about. What's the difference between the two? Well, one came in 1807, one came in 1809. So one's first, one's a response. Well, and shoot, one, the first one, probably didn't work. It probably didn't work perfectly because we need another one. We need a replacement. We need something. Who knows? We'll get more into that. Why were they necessary? Yeah, these laws didn't just come out of space. These weren't made in a vacuum of nothingness. Something was going on, and we all know what that was. Is once again, Britain and France are both messing with our shipping. They're pulling over our ships. They're pulling sailors off our boats and saying, come with me. I wouldn't call it slavery. It's called impressment. But they're basically enslaving our sailors into their navies. They're kind of accusing them of being runaways and like, they're still on contract to be in our Navy, so get on over here. And when you're messing with a bigger, stronger bully, what are you going to say? Yeah, it's tough. Let's see. So they're pulling over our ships, taking our sailors, and they're taking our cargo. Remember, Britain and France are both saying, U.S., you're trading with the other guy. U.S., you're trading with France. And we're England. We don't want you to trade, war materials. We don't want you to give France an advantage because they're our enemy. So we're going to pull over your boats and make sure to check that out. And France is doing the same thing. They're saying, US, you are helping the enemy? No? We? Pull over. We will take your stuff and your sailors. I don't know where that accent went off. But anyways, that's what they're doing. They don't want our ships to go help their enemy. So they're pulling that over and seizing it. Now, why would those countries do that to us? We're their number one trading partner. Besides their own colonies, we're their number one trading partner. We rely on trade with them. We got to make our cheddar. Now, the other thing is, France and England have been at war again. Like again, this is where Napoleon is really like blowing this thing up and making it huge. But they've been at war and like picking on each other for the longest time. Their economies have been wrapped up in like a war effort. So we've been able to sit back and kind of focus on farming, manufacturing, like the normal business stuff. And we're kind of supplying everyone back in Europe. And we're sending that stuff out because we have been neutral for the most part. It's been a little funky, right? Washington had to deal with neutrality. Adams got caught up in this issue with the XYZ affair. Like this was going on back then. And now we're on Jefferson. So we're still dealing with this for what? That was 1791. And that's for like a decade. We're dealing with this harassment for a decade. Uh, so while our economy has taken off and done great because we're just making stuff and supplying everyone else while they're busy with war, well, now that's coming to bite us a little bit because they're picking on us. So when we go to this one, which U.S. law? Remember, acts are called or laws are called acts when they get passed. So the Embargo Act, Non-Intercourse Act, which law worked? You're going to read very quickly that the Embargo Act was a disaster. Now, I don't want your if it didn't to just say the Embargo Act was a disaster, but I want you to realize that. So there's some things I want to just kind of stick as seeds in your brain and inspire you. That'd be one. I want you guys to know the Embargo Act was a disaster. I want you to find the proof why. I want you to detail why. I want you to give evidence why. But I can also tell you the Non-Intercourse Act was hardly any better. That was the one where we kind of dangle a carrot, like a bribe, a tease, a prize, and say, hey, whichever one of you guys stops picking on us, we'll only trade with you. And we won't trade with the other guy. Please be nice to us. And of course, France and Napoleon, sacre bleu, oui. They say, yeah, let's do that. Let's sign that paper. They do. We think everything's good. They still mess with us. We're stuck. We're stuck. It's just that time and place. The U.S. wasn't the strongest country, so we don't have much to back it up. Thomas Jefferson, his one fatal flaw is he also kind of pursued his democratic Republican philosophy and kind of shrank the size of the federal government and the military. And so that left us a little bit weaker. We're kind of trusting on goodwill and faith with our trading partners. Sometimes that doesn't work in real life. So this is what I was talking about. Which one offered a bribe or reward? That was the Non-Intercourse Act. But again, neither one is really going to work, and they're both going to contribute because they don't solve anything. They're both going to contribute to the War of 1812, and then they don't solve anything. And the source of that is Britain, France, especially Britain. By the time we get to the War of 1812, is just going to keep messing with us. So that's why we haven't. If it didn't, we want to really separate those out. So here's your goal. Here's your if it didn't format. I'd rather you just write if it didn't one big bold time instead of having to write that 5 different times. It gets to be kind of monotonous and pain in the butt. So we just write if it didn't one big time, and then we give 6 good reasons and facts about the Embargo Act or about the Non-Intercourse Act in 5 of those bullet points. So yeah, first one right here, I combine the year and like the author, the who created it. In the next one, I'd say who is that law supposed to target, right at that second bullet point. Third, I want to hear about what's the economic impact on us. I think that's the most important thing. One of them, we've got 55,000 sailors who lose their job. Farmers have all kinds of crops rotting at the ports because they're not getting shipped out to anyone. There's all kinds of stuff to talk about. You just got to dig those little details, and that makes it kind of fun. For the next bullet point, I'd go on to the next category on my chart. Reason it was needed, like what's going on. And last one, because what we really want to do in this, kind of what you always want to do, is kind of build up to the most important stuff. And so in that final bullet point, give me what's the bottom line about the Embargo Act, or what's the bottom line about the Non-Intercourse Act? Tell me, did it solve the problem? Did it postpone? Did it affect the problem in any way? Is there political fallout? Is it like a disaster for Jefferson or Madison? Does it do anything good? That's where you want to wrap in kind of the big conclusion. And it doesn't need to be a long thing, but just make sure you're saying something important in that last bullet point. And then we have our kind of bottom line title. Then it wouldn't be, because remember the big title here is if it didn't, do this stuff, if it didn't do those things that the octopus did or whatever, then it wouldn't be an octopus. Well, if it didn't do this, then it is the Embargo Act. Because if we had other details, it might be the non-intercourse. So we want to get very specific information only about one of our topics. So there again is our example. Oh, you know what I didn't say is an image. Remember, both of these topics deal with trade and kind of limiting trade with those two foreign countries, Britain and France. So we wouldn't want to just put in a picture of a boat that says trade, because that would be a picture that would apply to both. We want to get something very specific. So sometimes it's better to go not with a literal picture idea of embargo. Maybe you go for something that it creates an idea of in your head and kind of just represent that visually. I don't want to give too much away. I'll tell you about that later. So I want to see some creativity. That's kind of one of the cool things about being a teacher. Last thing, I've got two examples here. These are from seventh grade. This one is about the Maya religious system, and this one is about the Maya agriculture system. This one is a great one. This one is super basic. Obviously, they're missing one down here. They're missing their big title, so we don't really know what their topic is. But all their statements are just very short, clipped, and direct. It didn't have a king. Well, man, this kid could have said, remember Mayan kings were known as Halik eunuchs. And for each city state, there was a king. So that means there was like over 40 Halik eunuchs at a time. So this person could have said, if it didn't have a king known as a Halik eunuch in charge of each city state. And then the next one it says, if it didn't have gods, well, the Mayans had like over 200 gods. So this person could have said, if it didn't have over 200 gods that represented, natural things in real life, that would be kind of important. Or like folks on Tlaloc, the rain god, stuff like that. If it didn't feature things being sacrificed, everyone remembers human sacrifice from the Aztec, Mayan, Inca empires. But remember, the Maya are the ones, they didn't really do like the big blood sacrifice, like chopping off heads, ripping out hearts like the Aztecs. The Maya were more about like bird feathers, beautiful objects, art, and remember Pocahontas, they'd like sacrifice the losers. So that's about it. But there's room for details, quick, easy, but interesting details. Going over here, this person did a great job. They used great academic language here. Domesticate, that means to make crops and stuff, to focus on developing crops and improve them. So, and then they have domesticate and grow maize as a staple crop. So maize was the actual key term, and they're telling me what it is in an important way. Domesticate, maize, staple crop. Now this one, use slash and burn to clear land in the rainforest. So slash and burn was an important key term, but they're telling me where would you do that? Why did the Mayans do that? So that's important. So this is a great example that's better than this one. And there it is. That's your format. I think that's all I got for you. Double check. Aha, important. Don't forget that last line, because the whole setup is to say true statements about that one thing and make sure we know what that thing is. And then just on your image, make sure it's something specific. Pause here, read that. And that's what I got for you guys. Uh, Feel free to go outside, take a sheet of paper, just let that hand write something for the first time in a while. All right, thank you.